I have just had the most wonderful chat with, I guess, a long distance friend, Tom Smith, and he is um, the global ambassador for Evo. He has just launched his own education platform during lockdown, and he was one of the first to have his hands on OLAPLEX in England. So I loved this story and really just a true testament of going out and getting what you want and showing that if you don't put it out there, it's not coming for you. And so Tom started at a salon, Vidal Sassoon in London, and would take the bus and the train and something for a 3-hour commute each way. And he walks us through all of that and how he began, and then how he has now worked for another salon, Billy Curry, in London as well, I believe. I don't quite know my cities there, but you'll find out when you listen. But him working there and really respecting and valuing the people that he works for, and then how that progressed into him working for Olaplex and Evo and getting to trial those products and being part of the research and development team. He's a little bit of a hair nerd and loves the science and all of those things, and translating that to his experience with his clients, and then getting to do the behind the scenes research with Evo and being a part of launching that. I really enjoyed listening to him and how it all happened to him, because he makes it sound so easy, but I don't think it quite is. I think a lot of it goes with who you are as a person, and he is just so lovely, and I have had a pleasure of meeting him and now sitting down and chatting with him. He's in London, I'm here in Australia, so we coordinated this. And yeah, I really felt like that was a very relatable conversation for people to see that, if you want it, you go get it. So dive into this episode with myself and Tom, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. All right, we are in action. Today, my guest is all the way from England. I love when I get to record these and set up the time zones, and I'm always like, don't mess up the time zones. But this is my friend Tom.
Hello, hi everybody.
Hello. How are you going over there?
It's good. It's bizarre, isn't it, talking to you when you're ending your day just as I'm beginning mine.
I know. I've had my dinner. I'm ready. I usually do them in the morning, but if I'm honest, I'm more of a night owl, so I prefer this. Maybe I need to
Ah,
start
okay.
having all overseas guests.
Have all the Brits.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I met you while you were in Australia for for work, correct? Like you were here
Yeah,
for.
that's right.
Yeah. So I would love to start, as I start every interview, with how you got into hair and if it was something that you always wanted to do. And then it will kind of lead us on the path of how you and I cross paths, and you being over here in Australia and all of that. But I always love to know how it started for everybody and if they always wanted to be a hairdresser or what happened.
Yeah, sure. I That's definitely the case with me. From as young as I can remember, I had this fascination with hair. And I do remember, as I think a lot of hairdressers probably had the same experience of their mother taking them to the hair salon when they were very young, and being in the environment and watching how it all runs. And I remember even, one of my mother's hairdressers had me sweeping the floor when I was, barely able to walk. So
Oh my gosh, what, while your
um,
mom was getting her
yeah,
hair done?
that's right. Yeah. And I
Really put
remember
you
at
to
the time
work.
she was having, I know, right? She was having those gorgeous blonde and red highlights together. That
Oh.
that was from that time.
And then they become
Yeah,
pink and red highlights if you don't rinse them
right.
properly.
Absolutely. I remember sitting and looking up at all of the imagery on the walls, all of the pictures, and yeah, just being really inspired. So that same salon I started working at after school and on the weekends when I just turned 14. Like, so as soon as I was allowed, as soon as they would have me, I was there.
Oh my God, how cool. And was that
Yeah.
like, how long did you stay working there? Was that where you were for quite a while?
Do you know, I was there on and off for over 2 years.
Okay.
Um, and it's funny, the owner of that salon, I don't know, I think she saw something in me, and she said to me one day, "You're not going to be content staying in Kent," which is where I was in England.
Okay.
I'm going to send you to London, and you've got to go get trained by the best. So you've got to go do your training at Vidal Sassoon,
Oh my God,
which was
incredible.
my next stop. Yeah. So
That's
I
so
left Kent.
cool. How
Up to
nice
London
to
I
have
went.
somebody seeing that in you.
Yeah, well, I think retrospectively now, she probably hoped that I would go up, do the training, and then come back, but I never came back.
That's so cool. And how long have you been hairdressing now?
15 years
Oh
now.
my God. Where does the time go, eh?
Yeah, I know, it's scary. It's the longest I've ever done anything.
Oh my God. And did you love it right away? I always felt like it's all I wanted to do. And I was like, what am I gonna do if I'm not good at it, or like if I don't love it, or like you have this feeling that maybe you have to love it because you have no plan B? Like, did you feel like that, or was it instant for you?
I think I was one of the lucky ones that a lot of it was quite intuitive. Um, I do remember there was a period of years where I was, I mean, working, if you want to call it that, like 7 days a week, because I was so obsessed by touching hair and creating, and I would do anyone's hair who would let me.
Yeah.
So I was lucky that it came more organically. The things that I had to work on more were things like answering the phone. Like I was terrified to answer the phone when I first started working as an assistant. The phone would ring and I would just go cold with terror that I was going to have to talk to a stranger. But I guess that comes with growing up, doesn't it? Getting more confident with that
Yeah,
side of things.
totally. That's something that this industry gives us that I am so grateful for. And I think for a lot of people, it gives you that confidence, right? That you wouldn't have maybe
Right.
had, and that you can talk to anybody. Like I've had this, the fact that you and I are doing this right now, like you have that
Totally.
feeling of, well, if I can bullshit my way through conversations all day, like I can do that with anyone, like,
It makes the world a very small place. And, it's amazing how you are coming across all these totally different, I mean, from a client point of view, totally different people from
yeah,
such different backgrounds all around the world. You've kind of got access to all the world's best specialists in a way. It's really,
a hundred
yeah, it's
percent.
really amazing.
Yeah, it's a conversation I just had actually with my guest that I just did at the beginning of the week. And him saying, I was like, how did you learn like how to open a business, or, all these things? And he's like, I have people in my chair every day that
Right.
are experts in that. And, as much as I'm getting paid to do their hair, that's my hour that I have to pick their brain. And I was like, oh my God, like, you're right. Like, I'm aware of that. But like hearing somebody say it and be like, you have all these people. It doesn't matter what industry it is, the principle's still the same. And it's true.
That's it. And, not only that, but those people that you're talking to and that are kind of teaching you in a way, you've built a really trusting relationship with, because they're trusting you to do their hair. And so
Yeah.
certainly when it comes to business, if you're working with contacts that you might have made through that hairdresser client relationship, there's that trust that in all types of business is so important.
Yeah, so cool. So when you went to Vidal Sassoon's, was that like an apprenticeship, or like did you go to like I went to college? Like how did you kind of go about it and come up, and then that'll lead into where you are now?
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. I did that you can pay a lot of money and do an intensive course for 60 weeks, I think it is, or you can do the apprenticeship route, which obviously is where you train as you work, and that was the direction that I took. And
Okay.
it is some of my happiest memories in hairdressing, being an apprentice and an assistant in the Sassoon salon on South Molton Street in central London, which was the old Bond Street one that relocated,
Okay.
with like a team of 11 assistants and the
Yeah.
fun we would have in the busy, huge salon. Yeah, so I did the apprenticeship. I was there for just under 3 years in the end.
Cool. That's like the same vibe as mine, kind of. It was like the it place to be. Like, was that the salon that people were like, oh my God, you work there? Like, it was
Yeah,
it
that's
was
certainly
really
how it
cool.
felt at
Yeah.
the time. Yeah.
Yeah. I loved it. I was always like, I can't believe I work here, And
Well,
in
it was kind
London,
of like, sorry.
no, and in London, it must be like, it's so big, and I don't know. I've never been into a
Yeah.
salon in London before, so
Oh, well, you're going to have to come over to London. We're going to have to change that.
no problem. As soon as the borders are open, I'm everywhere.
Oh, tell me about it.
Cool.
No, because it was like the 16-year-old kid kind of going into London for the first time, starting this apprenticeship, sorry. And at the time, apprenticeship wages were £320 a month. So that's like 700 Australian dollars a
Oh
month,
my God.
on an apprentice wage. So it barely covered my my travel. So I had to get commuter coaches, which meant getting up at 6 a.m. every day, 3 hours on the road, driving into central London from my family home where I still lived. During, you know, your normal day, I used to get off the commuter coach down by the river and walk 20 minutes up to the salon because I didn't have the money at the time to get on the tube.
Oh my
And then you'd
God.
finish on the early, at least you'd finish at about 4:45 p.m. and then again 3 hours back to get home 8 o'clock every night. So
Oh my
at the
God.
time, it was all that I knew, but I was just obsessed with the buzz of London.
Hmm.
And at the time, looking back now, I don't know how I did it, but I loved it.
That's so funny. I say the exact same thing. So I did the college route, but I still worked in a salon kind of as an apprentice then, but I went to school. So I would do the same thing. I'd get the bus at 7:30 to get to I had to take two buses to get to my college, and then I would do that from 9 to 5, and then I'd get the bus to the salon and I'd do that from 5:30 to 9:30, and then my dad or my mom would pick me up and that was like a half an hour
Right.
back home. And it's like now I'm like, what the hell? And I worked
I know.
Saturdays too. And I, same as you, loved it.
There's something about the creative industries and ours specifically where there's such an energy and you thrive around being with people and creating constantly every day. It doesn't
Yeah.
drain you in the same way that I imagine it would be like working at a computer all day or
Yeah.
writing for a job or something that is perhaps seen as less creativity with your hands.
Yeah.
But it makes us do crazy things, doesn't it? And we all work so hard as hairdressers, but
I
it doesn't
know.
feel like work.
It's something that I found interesting from these interviews that it reminds me like, oh, I did that too. Like, and it seems to be that the people that I'm talking to who have kind of maybe taken their career to the next level, it's because we started this way and we have this in us. And some people don't, and it doesn't make them less, but it's just the people that I'm talking to, I'm starting to realize it's a common thing that we all seem to have, this like excessive obsession with the career.
I think that's true, but I think it's probably the same for any industry, isn't it? You know, you have
Yeah.
to, what is the saying? You have to eat, sleep, and breathe your passion and your drive, and do it to the point where it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like you're working.
And now, where do you work now? Like, are you still working for someone or are you a rent-a-chair? I actually don't know, so I'm curious.
Yeah, it's I work in the same salon that I've worked in for the last 9 years now, which is why I
Okay.
went after Sassoon's. It's an independent boutique salon called Billy Curry, that's
Yeah.
based in Marylebone in London, which is quite actually very close by to South Molton Street where I was working at Sassoon. So I kind of went into central London and stayed right there. I love
Okay.
that real kind of as close as you can get
And
to
is
the
that
center.
like, I don't know what you'd call it, like downtown or something? Like, we don't say that
Um,
in Australia, but at home you'd say like downtown Toronto, which is like the city.
so I guess the only comparison I would have maybe would be like I'm thinking about Manhattan and New York,
Okay,
and I
yeah.
suppose Marylebone would be a bit like in the village,
Okay,
um,
cool.
where yeah, kind of West London we're in, which is like more like being in the village, and then East London would be more like Brooklyn. So yeah, we're
Okay.
definitely kind of in the kind of more affluent shopping center of London, but you've also got the kind of people that live there, and the people that live there, it's an expensive place to live. So
Yeah.
you get a certain type of
Okay.
person that
Gotcha.
lives there.
I've loved actually seeing because I was all confused because I thought you guys were closed right now and in lockdown and all this stuff. But I've recently seen on my Instagram from all the English salons that I have posting like their shop front windows with like their wreaths and the garlands and the lights. And I'm like, oh my God, I love that. Like that's so
That's right.
yeah, that's so London to me. Don't you? I like the shops like that and like that's
Well,
Christmas.
because it's so
Christmas in
dark this time
Australia
of
is
year.
not like that.
No, we have no daylight this time of year. You know, it gets dark at 3 p.m. So
I
all the twinkly
know.
Christmas lights are the only light that we get.
Yeah.
Yeah, we opened. This is the first week. We've just finished the first week that we've been open
Oh, so you've been back for a week
after a
now.
month
Okay.
lockdown. Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah, yeah. So I've been there for 9 years, and when I started working with them, they employed me to kind of help grow the color side of their business because both of the owners are kind of hairdressing royalty, certainly in London.
Okay.
They were both very senior at Sassoon's. Debbie was leading education at the academy in London, Debbie Curry, and Billy Curry was one of the senior creative directors, and he was based in the Sloane Street salon. So between the two
Oh,
of them, they're this kind of cutting powerhouse.
okay.
And they started their business, but didn't have someone to kind of uh, lead the color, which was the reason I left Sassoon and took that role with them, because obviously it's an amazing opportunity to be really part of something smaller.
Yeah.
Sassoon is huge,
Yeah,
incredible, but I
totally.
was always drawn to the slightly more independent boutique kind of family style
So cool.
running.
And are you employed by them? Like you don't rent a chair, you're not an independent, you don't not an independent operator, you work for them.
Yeah, I definitely work with them. It's slightly more complicated than that because I've been
Okay.
there for 9 years. So when I first started with them, they employed me. Um, and as things progressed and I was doing so much more work internationally, the contract got adapted and adapted, and we found a really unique way of working together that wouldn't have been able to happen had we not built that trust and the foundation of that
Yeah,
relationship over
because
the
you were
nine
there from
years.
the beginning.
Right, exactly.
Oh,
So we've got
cool.
a really, really great relationship, and that's one of the single most important things that I think hairdressers can really learn and grow from, is having a strong relationship with the people that they work with on a day-to-day basis. It's,
Yeah.
so much of what we do is about working as a team and about relationships and about networking. So
Yeah,
I really,
totally. I mean,
I've
look at
worked
us.
hard to build that trust. Well, that's
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah, I love that
Around the
aspect of the
world.
career, the social aspect, not just in like a party way, but in a genuine meeting people who you like and want to chat with. And everybody's so
That's it.
open to sharing and doing that. But I agree that it's really important to respect who you're working for and feel respected in return, which I think
That's right.
sometimes, I mean, more often, I don't know about more often than not, but very often that's not the case. And I think that it's something that I've learned now from being in this industry for a long time, that it is a little bit of a rarity, and to cherish that when it does happen.
Something I always say is I sadly see a lot of people kind of constantly looking around trying to find greener grass, looking for
Mm,
the greener grass on the other side. But it sounds so cheesy, but for me, it's so important to water your own grass. Really investing in where you are, working really hard and giving, that you're going to grow so much more efficiently than constantly kind of moving around and trying to find a better fit. Maybe you just need to spend more time pruning your own plants and watering your own grass.
this is the only plant I've been able to keep alive, so that's why it's in the shot.
I
Like, what
love
are you, like,
it.
you are a plant murderer. There's like 75 plants that are all dead outside.
I think you're either a plant person or you're not, aren't you? I'm not sure it's
I don't
something
know.
you can you can
This one
learn.
sprouted a leaf and I nearly cried of joy. So I maybe that's what
Oh.
I need to work on, pruning my own grass, whatever the heck it is. So when you switch from Sassoon's into the salon that you're in now, and you said you were there to kind of bring the color department up, is that how you kind of got into education, or had you been educating at Sassoon's? Like, how did that kind of happen for you that you got into education? Because that's a big part of who you are,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. The education side of my career did begin when I went to Billy Curry in a kind of smaller way. But it was actually with the launch of OLAPLEX that I began kind of
Okay.
properly being paid to teach people. So I guess that's
I want
when
to
you
know
could probably
all of
say I
this.
was an educator. It was a really, really exciting time. And do you know what was even more exciting was the fact that I kind of had this awareness that it was going to be a pivotal moment in the industry as it was happening.
Oh my
I
God,
think
how
sometimes
cool.
it's only kind of retrospectively that you look back and you think, wow, that was huge. But at the time, we just knew that it was going to change the industry and change
And
the
so
world.
how
And I
did
think,
that happen for you? How did you get that opportunity? How did you, yeah, like, did you approach them? Did they approach you? How did it all happen?
do you know, again, it's kind of relationships, because I discovered Olaplex. I mean, I don't personally discover Olaplex, but I
Holy
mean, what I mean
shit!
is,
I've hit a gold mine here.
I'm taking
This is
credit
my
for the
moment.
entire. What I mean is, obviously, it didn't come to the UK until much later, like a year later after it had been launched in the States,
Okay.
in the Mesh Salon with Tracy Cunningham. And I saw that Tracy Cunningham was posting about something on Instagram, and I was always very kind of techie at that point and really into ingredients and really into the science and chemistry of coloring hair and of the hair care that I was recommending to my clients. So I felt like I had quite a good understanding of, what you're allowed to say from a marketing point of view and what you're not. You can't make false claims when it comes
Yeah.
to creating and selling products. And so I saw this name and, just clicked on it, looked at the website, and they're making these claims. And I'm thinking, you're not allowed to make these claims unless they're really unless it's true. Like, you know, the whole reduce the appearance of wrinkles, you get like around
Yeah.
the loophole because it's reducing the appearance of, rather than the wrinkle, the wrinkle itself. They're kind of saying
Ah.
it's relinking the disulfide bonds in the hair. There's no way of kind of uh, BSing that.
Yeah.
You have to, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So I
You're
was like,
saying
wow,
it,
that's
so
a
if
big
it's
deal.
not true, you're lying.
Absolutely, yeah. So they were saying it without trying to mislead, or without trying to kind of blow smoke and mirrors around. It was, and I was thinking, wow, this is, if that's true, it's going to be amazing. And you couldn't get it in the UK at this point. I was emailing saying, can you send me some? And they weren't replying. I guess they were thinking about their UK launch yet.
Yeah.
And I had a trip to Miami coming up, so I was going to be in the States anyway. And I made it my mission that while I was there, I was going to hunt it down from wherever I could and bring it back like a drug mule, smuggling it back from the States, to test it and figure out if it really was as good as it looked
Yeah.
like it was going to be. So I did that. I think it was the December or January of December of 2014 or January of 2015. And I brought it back and I was testing it and playing with it and thinking, oh my God, this really is something new. This is something that's never been seen before. And so it wasn't until 6 months later that the official launch happened in the UK. And in that time, I'd built a relationship with the distributor who had taken on the account for the UK. So
Because you met
I
him. Oh, you made a relationship with the one in the UK.
The UK distributor, yeah. So
Ah.
when we found out who was looking after the distribution for OLAPLEX, when it was going to be launched in the UK, Billy, the owner of the salon, and I took a meeting with the lady who was kind of running the show from the distributor point of view,
Yeah.
and just built that relationship and just said, look, we've been working with this for 6 months already. You just got your hands on it, but we've been
I
already
already
working with
know.
it. We
Yeah.
already really understand it. So if you do need anyone to kind of work with you on an education point of view and help get it out further, we feel quite comfortable talking about the product and its limitations. So we'd love to work together. And pretty much straight away, she was like, okay, great. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to ask, haven't you? If you don't ask, you don't
Yes.
get.
Oh my God, I say that all the time. Sometimes I ask too much.
Ah. Well, you don't get if you don't ask.
Fair enough. That's how I got you here.
All right.
Oh my God, what a cool story. So did you hunt them down in Miami? Like when you went, you found just like that's how you got it, or did you just buy it at Cosmoprof, or like what happened when you went?
I actually had it delivered to the hotel, and I called the hotel ahead and I was like, this is package arriving, it's really important, you need to keep it safe for me. This
Oh
is
my
Mr.
God.
Smith, I'm arriving on this date, you need to keep the pack. I felt very important and businesslike at the time, sending my packages to a hotel. I hadn't done that before, but they're basically, I just ordered it online and had it sent to the hotel because I
Oh my
couldn't
God,
get it
how
shipped to the UK.
cool.
Yeah, it doesn't
Love
sound super
that.
exciting when you say it that way, but I was just on a mission. I was like, I've got to get my hands on this
Yeah, but
little
it goes
pot
to
of liquid
show.
gold.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, look at it now. Like it's outrageous. So you were on to something.
Well, do you know what I'm really grateful for is that our salon in the UK was the first salon in the UK to be able to offer it to
Oh my
clients,
God, cool.
and that I know of at least.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to have had the opportunity to work with it and offer it and have it while it was exclusive at the beginning, and then while it was still growing in popularity. And now it's kind of mainstream, and you can buy it everywhere, you see it everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think some people think that degrades the premiumness of the
Yeah.
brand, but I don't necessarily agree in this case, because it's sort of like the invention of shampoo. I mean, I
Mm,
don't work for OLAPLEX anymore, by the way, so everything I'm
yeah.
saying is I'm not here to kind of sell
Genuine.
you OLAPLEX. This is
Yeah.
this is just me kind of trying to share authentically, because it's like the invention of shampoo. You can't just keep it for the premium salons. It has to be available to the masses, because it is a new science, a new technology, and is different to the other kind of bond products out there. So I like the fact that it's gone everywhere, because you can't just keep it for the
Yeah, and it
Western
shows that it
salon.
works. I mean, it's in demand and it's a good product and all these things. So I totally get that. So were you then going to salons as the salon was purchasing from the distributor, and then you would go on behalf of them to do the education in salon?
We did a lot more centralized education. So we would put on myself, and a couple of other hairdressers were kind of working with Vanessa Boland and Sharon Dale, who are really kind of well-respected educators in the UK, who work a lot with Moroccan oil.
Okay.
Um, and they were kind of leading the show. They had us as the kind of hairdressers that were kind of there helping them as educating and putting stuff out there. And we did platform work where we would have audiences of, 40, 50, 60 hairdressers that would come to learn about it. And it started off being quite sort of technical seminars where I would talk about the chemistry of how it worked. One of the others would do a demo of how you apply it. Like, it was really quite science-led stuff, because that's the way that you have to teach something like that. So rather than going into salons, we would bring everyone to us and do these big events and meet lots of hairdressers that way. And then, of course, we had Salon International, which is the biggest kind of hair convention of the year in
totally.
UK, and possibly even in Europe. And so we did the official launch. I think it was later that year, and it would have been October or something in 2015 that we launched OLAPLEX at Salon International, and it was by far the busiest stage. It was when Guy Tang was kind of the person that everyone was kind of interested in because of his Instagram presence, and so he was there, and that drew a lot of the younger hairdressers from like the celebrity point
I
of view, or
remember
whatever you
that
want to call it.
in New Orleans, probably the same kind of year and time, and same thing. He was massive, and Olaplex was huge then. And I remember we got like little travel size Olaplex in our bags, and it was like, holy shit, like it was so great.
It was like you were at a rock festival or something, like it was crowds around. You felt like you were a celebrity standing up there sharing. It was an amazing thing to be part of, and I was kind of pinching myself all the way through, like, how have I got to this? How have I got here? So yeah, that was the first time that I was like, okay, I'm making progression to the next sort of stage of my career. It's not just about working behind the chair anymore.
Vision for yourself that you knew that you wanted to be the platform artist or the stage educator, or like, had you seen that stardom for yourself and then saw it happening, or was it like happening and you're like, oh my God, I'm nervous, or I don't want to do this, or I don't know?
I was definitely very nervous. Public speaking is not something that comes naturally, and it's something that I still kind of battle to try to overcome. My angle was always the science and the product and the technological advancement of what was happening, and I was like, this is incredible to be able to do this with hair, and I want to share that information to other people. So it came initially about educating something that I was passionate about, sharing that with someone, rather than educating as an umbrella, if that makes sense. And even now, the brands that I work with, I have to have that fire in my belly about whatever it is I'm talking about. I can't just stand up and talk you through the 3 points of whatever. It has to have something that really excites me and that I feel is really innovative and worth sharing.
I totally agree. You can't sell, and even I find that with selling products, say in the salon, like sometimes I think clients think, even when you go into, I don't know, any shop and they're just selling you, like, if I don't like the product, I'm actually not going to sell it to you, and I'm going to show you what website
100%.
you can go buy Olaplex on. Say my salon now doesn't have Olaplex, and I'm like, I think that's better. That's what you should be using. Like, I would never, and you can't educate regardless of whether it's product or a hair technique or color, like whatever it is. If you're not passionate about it and you don't understand it, people call bullshit, and people can see it, and they can
absolutely
see how much you love it. Like when you or I talk about something, like you can't fake it,
No, I think we forget that we as humans communicate through so many more ways than just with our words, right? If you can be saying one thing, if you're not being honest, you're not being authentic, whether the human that you're talking to knows it consciously or subconsciously, if you're lying or if you're not being authentic, they're going to sense it somehow. And I think that if you're not able to be honest about what you're sharing, then you're right, you're in the wrong business. I say never sell shampoo. Talk about what you love and what you think is going to work for that client, and they'll buy it if they want to. It's not about the selling.
Totally. And so let's go into your Evo, or unless there's something in between, but like, how did that kind of happen that now you are the global ambassador of Evo, right?
Right. Yeah, that's right. Well, it came about through Olaplex. There was a very clear kind of overlap there. I worked for both of them for a while, and it wasn't a conflict of interest because they were both doing such different things. But whilst educating for Olaplex at an event called Colour World in the UK, that one of the guys that helped bring Evo to the UK was there, and he came to me afterwards and said, we loved what you were saying, can we send you some product, can you try it, and we'd love to work with you, basically. So at the time they sent me the Evo Fabuloso Pro bottles of custom mixed conditioner. You kind of get the thing, and you can add unlimited different shade options.
And there's nothing
And as a
really
colorist, that's
else
really
like
exciting.
that, is there? Like, is there? Like, not that I like every
No,
salon that I've been at, no matter what color line we used or what product line we carried, we always added that on because
yeah,
no other brand has it. It's just something completely separate. And yeah,
this
everywhere
was
I've worked has that.
yeah, this was like 4 or 5 years ago now, and it had already been around for a little while, and it was the only thing that I knew of at the time that provided that. Before that,
Yeah.
I was manually putting Wella Perfecton into
Yeah,
Wella
direct
Perfect Hair
pigments into
Mousse. You
their
know,
conditioner. Yep, same.
yeah, you would just kind of be a little alchemist, and as a colorist, you know, you're mixing your own and trying to find solutions for your clients. So that really excited me, and now there've been some other companies that have tried to do similar things, but I
Yeah.
think the beautiful thing about Evo Fab Pro is that you really get to the nitty gritty of being a colorist. You've got the primary and secondary colors in their purest form, and you know, you can mix and create something that is limitless. So you're kind of not held back by a brand's numbering system. You've
Yeah.
literally got your paint box, and you can mix it like an artist.
Yeah.
And I think it really helps. You grow a deeper understanding of neutralizing pigments and complementary tones and contrasting tones and all of that. So for me, it's still the tool that gives me the most versatility as a colorist.
Yeah, how cool. And so how did that happen? From him seeing you on stage at an Olaplex event kind of? And then
Yeah, that's
how
right.
did it snowball from there? Like were you using Evo in your like do you have Evo in your salon now because of your connection or how does that kind of fall
Yeah,
into?
we didn't have it at the time, but after trying the products, we all agreed that it was amazing and we wanted to stock it. And then that came alongside me beginning to work with them as one of their educators. And
Yeah.
at the time, I was already visiting Australia on a yearly basis. I have a friend that lives in Sydney, and I'd already fallen in love with being in Sydney. And then there was this brand that was based in Australia, and it just felt like the perfect kind of connection and combination. They started saying things like, "Yes, well, we'll do annual education, and you'll be taken out to Australia. You'll be taken out to Adelaide." And I was like, "Deal, let's do it." That was
Amazing.
kind of that was definitely a big selling point at the time. So as well as loving the products, it was the
Yeah.
idea that I can have this sort of fit in all aspects of my life as well. And I love being in Australia and still do. I'm pining after it at the moment, where we've not been able
I'm
to visit
waiting
for
for
over a
you.
year.
I know.
And I know that you feel the same because you're still there.
I know. 4 years later. What the heck?
So yeah, it just felt like the perfect role and the perfect company to work for. And they're still family owned. There's a really short chain of communication between me and the top people that really make all the decisions for the direction of the brand. So again, a bit like the salon that I work at, it feels like being part of a family, and it feels like your voice is heard, and that you can help drive the brand in the direction that you all as a team see to be the right one.
Yeah, I love that. Now, something that I read in the info that you sent me about yourself was that you really go for a holistic approach in terms of what you're delivering to your guests and all that. So, what does that mean for you? And is that what kind of these family ties also have for you in that way? And that's why you like those
Yeah,
brands?
yeah, maybe. I mean, people laugh at me when I say I take a holistic approach because it sounds a bit hippy dippy, but what I mean by that is, you know, to treat someone holistically, if you go to a homeopath or whatever, to treat someone holistically, you're not looking at a symptom, or you're not looking at one part of their life. You're looking at their entire body, their entire life. And when you treat someone holistically, you're looking at the full picture rather than any one point. And I believe that to be a great
Mm,
hairdresser, you need to you need to have the same approach, or certainly I find value in having the same approach. I specialized in color at Sassoon's, but was still cutting in my private time while I was at Sassoon's, and then picked up cutting again full time in the salon alongside coloring when I worked at Billy Curry. I do texture services, I do extensions now. So for me, it's not about being a cutter or a colorist. I
mm.
have always been driven by the ability to work with an individual and be kind of inspired by someone's personality and create something that is totally bespoke for them. And in order to do that, you have to take a total approach or a holistic approach. And I think that all of those elements of great hair have to work in harmony and work together.
Yeah.
Now, you can achieve that by having really clear communication in your salon between the cutting team and the coloring team. So, by no means am I saying this is the only way
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for me personally, I don't feel like there's any clearer communication than the
With
communication I can
yourself.
have between myself and my head. And then, of
I wish
course,
I
with my
had that.
clients, right?
Sometimes my wires get crossed.
And you know what? I found that clients love it as well, because you're
Yeah.
not just, providing a service and sending them on their conveyor belt. You're building a relationship. It's a lot easier to create a long-term journey for their hair and progress it over months and over the years. So it just really works for me, and I really enjoy it. And I found that the response from clients has been really positive.
Love that. So good. And now you have actually also launched your own education. So I would love to talk a little about that. And if that was something like, when did that kind of start coming into your mind? Like, were you educating for these brands, being like, I have more that I want to share, or placements that are, if I'm educating for Evo, maybe I'm only talking products, but I want to talk color placement, or like, were you doing that with them, or like, how did that kind of happen?
Yeah, well, certainly working for Evo, they do very much empower you to put your own stamp on things, and they want you to teach really authentically. And to do that, you always share little snippets of the way that you personally work. They even allow you to say, this is the brand as us recommend that you use this product, but I found that another good kind of
Yeah.
off-label use is this, and to be creative and to make the product line work for you. So they definitely encourage that. But I just found that there was so much more about just the running of my day and the relationships with my clients, and things that wouldn't come up in platform work that I was doing for Evo, that I felt was valuable. And it took some of my colleagues to really push me into doing it, because for me it's just automatic.
Natural.
It's kind of just normal what I do in the salon, and I think it's important to try not to compare yourself to others too much. So
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of go along on my little way, and that's the way that I like to do it, and it is. But then they push me into kind of sharing a little more detail about why I do what I do and how I do it and what the benefits are. And then when I really started breaking it down and thinking about it in my head, I thought, okay, maybe I do have something that might help people and that might be of benefit and of value.
Yeah.
And I had someone share this with me earlier on in my career, I would have loved that. So yeah, it's been a really, really interesting project. It's been done and executed fully during a lockdown, so that comes with its own challenges. We
Yeah.
didn't use live models. We used the lovely little Sally heads that before
Yeah.
then I wouldn't have touched with a barge pole. Coming from
That's what
Sassoon, they
I
don't.
said too. I had to do education during lockdown as well on Zoom. So not recorded like what you've done, but we were doing live classes on Zoom, and it was meant to be with models, and it changed that it had to be on mannequins, and
Right.
I was like tapped out, like no thanks, don't want to do that.
Yeah,
And
it's a bit
then
snobby, isn't it? But we're both guilty of
who do I
it.
think I am? I should have just been grateful for the opportunity. No, I
I
was.
know.
To be fair, I was. But I think that the mannequin heads actually work quite well. Like, what's really the diff of watching me do like there is things, but I think it's innovative. I was gonna say innovative. Is that how you would say it?
I think I would say innovative. I don't know.
Innovative. Oh, well, maybe I've just made
Innovative,
it
innovative. No,
up.
I think I'd say innovative.
But did so was it your like bosses and who you work with in your salon that encouraged you to be doing this?
It was just kind of my peers in the industry. I
Yeah.
didn't include the owners in the beginning because, well, first of all, they're trying to keep their business alive in lockdown, right? So I didn't want to. I
Well,
had the idea
that's kind of
during
why I'm
lockdown.
asking, because I'm like, I think
Yeah,
sometimes when you're someone who has these big ideas, or you don't want it to seem like you're taking business from your employer, or that you like are not focused with them, or all these things, but it's hard when you have
yeah.
ideas and you do work for someone else. So I was curious, if that's something that, yeah, was a factor.
Yeah, I mean, they're really supportive and they're really good, and they trust kind of my judgment. And
Yeah.
but I just had this need to be creative, and obviously in lockdown, you're not able to do that. So
Yeah.
I found myself lying awake at night, like my brain just whirring kind of with ideas,
Me too.
because I wasn't, working with my hands like during the day on my
Yeah.
clients, and there wasn't that outlet for my creativity. So I guess that was kind of the where it was born, where the idea was like, okay, I'm going to actually do this. And
Mhm.
then I'm the person that once I get an idea in my head, I have to just like laser focus and get it done. There's no stopping me. If I've got
Yeah,
an idea and I've got to the point where I'm sure that it's the right thing to do in this moment, that's it. I'm on the train. I'm not
exactly
getting
me.
off.
Yeah.
So I went into I went into a bit of a hole for the best part of a week. And we shot it all, myself and my boyfriend, who's also in the industry, we shot it
Oh,
together.
cool.
Obviously, we're in the same household. So I had him to really help and support from helping me with the camera angles and the lighting and,
Amazing.
looking at it from behind the camera point of view. But it was done without a camera crew, without a studio, because we didn't have access to those things. And I was like, look, we're all in lockdown. This is the perfect time to be
Yeah.
able to share. This is when people are going to be paying attention and listening. And I want to give people something that they can fill their time with now to have access to that creativity that I knew that I was missing so
Yeah.
much.
How cool. And how did you pick what you were sharing? Like what you were going to put into it? Like, is there so much more now that you've done it that you're like, oh, that was easy, or not easy, but that was okay. And now I actually have this, and this that I think I would share. Like, how did you come up with what you were sharing? Is it your original?
Yeah.
I haven't taken it yet, but I'm going to take it. Um, I 100% am going to take it. But yeah, how did you come up with it? Like, I've been having conversations with is about, like, if I take a class and now that's the foil placement or the freehand placement that I'm implementing, and then I'm teaching, am I actually teaching my own thing? Or like, am I just teaching what Charlene taught me, or like, how did you kind of pick that to be what you were launching?
Yeah, well, to be honest, it was kind of led by my clients, because I sat back and I looked at what I was doing on a daily and a weekly basis,
Mm,
and there were kind of common themes that were coming up, and by that I mean requests from clients, certain
yeah.
things they were asking for, that I remember back when they first asked for it, that I didn't have the immediate plan in my mind of how I would execute their request, because it wasn't, classic work or
Yeah.
the modern classics that we're now used to doing in the salon. It was kind of something much more bespoke, but it was something that was coming up again and again. So there were three kind of main looks in the course and a total of 7 different techniques, um, mixed across between cutting, coloring, and styling. But they all come from salon work, to be honest. Clients, being client led, clients are the ones coming in asking for things, and I'm very
Yeah.
ready and happy to recommend. But that's when you see trends forming and patterns, I think, sometimes when you're seeing something on a regular basis come up, and then it becomes to be a trend. So that was where the ideas were born. It was things that I found myself doing that I knew I had never been taught, that I
Yes.
knew I had never seen before in exactly the same way. And so I decided to put it into words and put it into a technique and break
Yeah.
it down into something that was teachable. And I hope it comes across well. I've had some good feedback, so I think it does.
Good.
But
I bet you have. I
it's
really
very
think you're
vulnerable putting
incredible.
something
Like,
out independently.
yeah, it's scary. It's hard. No matter how confident you are, no matter how successful you are, no matter who you're sponsored by, or whether you travel the world or whatever you do, everybody has that self-doubt in them. And I think that from afar, we see people say, like you or whoever, and we're like, oh, it's no big deal for them. But it is. And even I've gotten that with the podcast of people being like, oh, how do you just sit there and talk with people? But to me, it doesn't phase me. But sometimes, like before I'm doing it, I do get nervous, or those things. And to overcome that, I think is a really big deal and to be proud of.
One thing I've learned through teaching on stage and doing platform work is that you never ever appear as nervous as you might feel inside. So
Mm,
if you're feeling really nervous inside, it doesn't mean that it's translating to the audience. The audience are just
yeah.
in awe of you standing up there presenting and teaching to them. They're not feeling what you're feeling. They're not feeling the butterflies in your stomach and the heat in your forehead, and all of
The
that. So
rash on my neck.
right. We
That
all have
damn rash.
something
I'm like,
very
I need to go see a specialist about this because this is a real situation. Because it just fit anything, anytime. Like, it's going to happen now that I'm talking about it. But it just happens. And I'm like, I'm not even nervous. I'm not even embarrassed.
right.
Like, whatever it is. But you're right. Like, they don't know that you're
No.
feeling that way as much as you do.
Right. And I think one of the things that helps me is to try to remember that in the moment, because it helps to calm you, right? If you can ground yourself and sort of feel, okay, I might be nervous, but this isn't coming across as strongly as I'm feeling it inside, then you can kind of start to relax and slow down and breathe into it, and it helps. It's still something that I battle with to try to be good at and try to enjoy, but it helps over time.
That's so cool. I love you sharing that. So, what is, I guess it's hard to say what is the next thing when we're in this time of
Yeah.
uncertainty, but like, do you have a goal, a bucket list thing that you're at, or are you just riding it out? Like, where are you at?
Well, the next big project is with Evo. I've been unbelievably lucky over the last 2 or even 3 years now, I think it is, to be really one of a team of about, I think, 5 people, if that, who have been building a new color line for Evo. Evo will be
Mm.
launching their permanent color line. I don't know if you've seen it.
I know a little something
Um,
about this. I might have had Stevie English on here talking to me about counter
well,
lightener.
it looks like this,
Oh my
and that's
God, is
all.
this the exclusive?
That's all I'm showing you
The
for now, or I'm going to
unfoiled
get in big trouble.
exclusive. Thank you.
But I've been so lucky to have been really at the beginning of this project, down to kind of working with the chemists on the formulas and the development from the very start.
Yeah.
So, as a colorist, to be part of the birth of a new full permanent and demi-permanent color line is incredible, and I feel so grateful that I had that opportunity. And so the next big project is going to be the global launch of that. It's already kind of coming out slowly in
Hmm.
Australia, and it will be coming out into the rest of the world through next year. And that's going to be my main focus from an educational point of view, which
How
is going to be something
incredible.
new and something huge. So that is really exciting for
And I
me.
think from somebody who obviously the passion for you is in the science of your
That's right.
products, whatever you're using, whether it's your color or your shampoo or your Olaplex, whatever it is, like that must have been such an eye opener. Like, were you blown away at how much you learned from that as well, and being like, oh my God, I didn't even know this? Because sometimes I find, how no matter how many times I've taken a Wella course or a whatever course, I always am like, oh, I kind of forgot that. Or that, like, were you blown away at how were you able to be on the research team? Were they educating you, or you
So, I
knew
mean, by no
stuff?
means was I the ones kind of, but by no means was I in the
Yeah.
lab picking and mixing it myself. We
I'm
had a team of
envisioning you in a
amazing
lab
chemists.
coat.
I mean, we did have to wear a lab coat, I have to say.
Pinky in the brain.
There was a whole outfit. We were wearing PPE before anyone knew what PPE was. Um, but yeah, the team of chemists are amazing, and so mind blowing what they can do, what they can put together. But as hairdressers who were kind of working with them, we would have to give feedback on, the viscosity, or how the coverage is, or how well it lifts, and
Yeah.
we're working on or the reflect, and what tone, whether this is the correct tone to be labeled this, and so that was our main role, is giving feedback, and then the chemists would translate our feedback from words into how they would then reformulate and improve and progress the products. And I learned so much, and so much about color theory, that the kind of things that you absorb over the years that
Mhm.
might kind of get Chinese whispered and evolved, and sort of evolve into something that isn't quite accurate, and you kind of get to learn from the source. So that was really interesting. I can't get over that I've had this opportunity. It was amazing.
And do you think it's made you
Feel
a better
very lucky.
hairdresser behind the chair?
Yeah, I feel like it has to have. I think as a colorist, you have to have a strong knowledge of the chemistry and of the science behind what you're doing anyway. But to really have a deeper understanding of the life cycle, from the birth of
Yeah.
a color right up until when you wash it off your client's head in the salon, is quite amazing. So it definitely makes you more mindful about what really goes into what you're able to do. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes before that tube arrives at the salon in the delivery
Yeah.
order.
You'd be mixing much more preciously,
Yeah,
my little
absolutely.
baby in the bowl.
Saving every little gram of
No
color.
waste. Yeah, there'd be
No
zero waste
wastage.
coming out of your salon. Meanwhile, I'm mixing
Absolutely.
10 scoops over here.
Our salon's on a real kind of sustainability kick at the moment. We're working with a company called the Salon Collective, I think it's called.
Oh, cool.
And Debbie Curry, one of the co-owners, she is really driving this. It kind of started with all the PPE that we're using and having to get rid of. We're now recycling all
Yes.
of that, along with the hair and the foil and everything that we already did.
Incredible.
Um, I learned recently that the hair gets put into booms that go into the ocean to absorb oil spills. Did you know that?
Oh,
If
I've
there was
heard
an
of it
oil
actually.
spill,
I have heard of it,
yeah.
but I never thought about it again.
Yeah, so this salon collective is helping salons to recycle their hair and their color tubes and their aluminium foil and everything, and the PPE now
Amazing.
as well. So
I mean, I
that's
think
been
that's
something.
so important and it's something that people want. I have clients coming in now being like, "Can I refill my shampoo bottles? What are you doing?" And
That's
like
right.
genuinely asking questions about that. And it's like, wherever I work, right, it's not my salon, so some things are out of my control, but I think it is really showing that people want that and that is what is changing and happening, and also why aligning yourself with a brand that you respect on what they do is really important as well.
Well, I think we have to play to our strengths, don't we?
Yeah.
And as hairdressers, we can be creative, and the business owners have to manage the business. So
Yeah.
to be able to bring in someone whose main focus is recycling and sustainability and all of that, that's their speciality. Work with a company like that who can take the pressure off and do most of it for you.
Love it. Anything else that you feel like we haven't covered that you want to share? I mean, I think this is just, I've really enjoyed this. I never don't enjoy it, to be honest, but I just love that so many people, no matter where you are, and if, say we're all at the same level of our career, everybody's story is different. Everybody's knowledge is different, what they think is important, or their story of how they got there. And I love hearing it. And I appreciate you taking the time to share it and
Oh,
sit with
well,
me.
I just want to say thank you to you for, being the person behind all of this, right? You're the one that's putting in all the effort to pull all these people together and get this information out there. And I've loved listening to some of the podcasts of yours that I have
Thank
listened to,
you.
and it's been, it's really inspiring. And I'm just grateful that there are people like you who are pulling other people from their busyness and focusing us all into sharing and coming together.
So
So
nice.
I'm
Thank
grateful
you.
that you asked me to come on. Thank
Oh
you.
my gosh, I love everything that you do. Genuinely, I love seeing your work and everything that you do. I really enjoy. So I can't wait to one take the course, but see you over here again and everything. I think it is important, and you're right, everybody's busy, but what I thought I could really hone in on was the fact that we all had this time this year that we never had. And
That's right.
it's been a challenge, I will admit, going back to work and doing this because holy shit, it's a lot of work. And like I've missed, a week or two of putting them out because I was doing, 50-hour weeks at the salon and then
Yeah.
recording, and it takes about an hour to do them and then write all the stuff and the captions. So I appreciate you noticing it, but I really think that something that we all do as hairdressers is that we love to share and give, and I just want to inspire people to strive for, if they want it they can get it. And I love hearing the background story of how people got where they are, and I can't wait to watch what's next for you.
Well, that's positivity that we all need in the world right now. So thank you. You're amazing.
Oh, you too. Well, thank you so much.